Hello guys and welcome back to Game Development Tutorials. Today we are finally continuing the Space Shooter series. Woohoo! So today we are going to implement player death and an explosion effect. Last time, well, we added, if you do not remember, that was a week ago. Still shoots, but we added enemy explosions that look beautiful. And we also added damage and enemy health in case you want to change the health or something. Okay, so now I think it's fitting that we added the enemy death. Now that we should add the player death. That's a bit helpful for the enemies. Okay, so let's just create a new script. So I'm just going to select the player, then press add component, and I'm going to call this script player controller. Then I'm going to press enter to actually create and add the script to the player. Okay, I'm just going to drag this script into the scripts folder. And by the way, hopefully today we'll have no bugs. I mean, we shouldn't. Everything's pretty easy and self-explanatory. I mean, okay, first of all, before we actually go into this script, I'm going to open our prefabs folder and select the enemy bullet. And I'm just going to add a new tag to it. So I'm just going to click on the drop down where it says next to tag. Then I'm just going to press add tag. Then this little plus sign right here. And I'm just going to call this, oh my gosh, enemy bullet. And press enter to actually make the tag. Then I'm going to reselect the enemy bullet into the prefabs folder because the tag has not yet been applied. So now we will apply it, and there we go. Now it has the enemy bullet tag. Now I will go into the player controller script by double clicking on it to actually open it up in Visual Studio. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I tried to start fresh. I'm going to delete all these. Start off, I will make two variables. I'm going to make a public float health and a private float current health. Then I will make two methods. So I'm going to call this one void take damage. It will take in one parameter, and that parameter will be type float, and it will be the amount of damage that the player has just taken. So I'm just going to call that AMT, or amount. Okay, then in this method, all we are going to say is current health minus equals amount. So whatever is passed in here, it will take away that from the health. Now I'm just going to add one last method called void death. This will just be called when the player has 0 health. And right now I'm just going to destroy the player. Okay, so now we, in the start function, so void start, and remember this is first called when the game begins, and that's it. So this is the most important part of this. We need to set current health is equal to health. And in the update method, this is called every frame, so loops. And we are just going to say if current health is less than or equal to 0, and if it is, that means that it will just die, so we will just call the death method. Okay, so far it is pretty simple. But now we actually have to detect when the player is actually hit by the enemy bullet. We can do that again, like how we did it in the enemy controller script with void on collision enter. So let's go into the player controller script and say void on collision enter, and just press enter for autocomplete. Okay, so now to actually make it collide, we'll say if collision.collider.tag is equal to enemy bullet. And by the way, you have to spell this the same exact way how you spelled the enemy bullet tag, or else it will not work. Unity won't even throw an error at you. So yeah, you have to spell it exactly the same. Oops, turn one off. There we go. Okay, so now, so I haven't called it yet. Okay, so let's go back into the player controller script, and in this void on collision enter function, we'll just say take damage, then let's say 1F, or 1 amount of damage. Now we can go back into Unity and this should work. Woohoo! And it's only been 6 minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to set the health to maybe 3. So it takes 3 shots for the player to die. That's going to be very dark, I must say. Okay, let's wait for enemy to spawn. Boom, 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 dead. Okay, that is beautiful. Hold on. I just want to see if we did something. Maybe? I don't remember. No, we've not. Okay. So, there's a bug right now. If we just press play. You don't have to, I'm just demonstrating the bug. But right now, if we just leave all the enemy spaceships alone, and we do not destroy them, then something pretty weird will happen. Not really that weird. But, oh gosh. But after 5, I think it is? Yeah, 5. After 5, they'll just stop spawning. And that is because the next wave only continues when all the enemies have been destroyed. And right now, the only way the enemies can be destroyed is if a bullet hits them. So, I'm just going to do this another way. So go into the enemy spaceship and go into the enemy movement script. Okay, so I will write another line of code here. I'll say if transform.position.z, let's say is greater than, it's a good place. So if the z position is, let's just say, greater than -20, something, is greater than -20. So if the enemy spaceship is below the screen, then we will just destroy it. And I might want to say less than, but I'm just going to see if this works. I'm not great with greater than or less than. There we go. Hello. Okay, so now if we press play, when the enemies are below the screen line, they should just delete. Yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna go back into enemy movement script and switch this to a less than sign. And now let's press play. Wait for it to compile. And now let's press play. Okay. Pew pew. There we go. Now they're spawning. Okay, so let's see. Yep, it works. But just to show you guys that they will keep spawning even after 5. That's just because the wave is looping. So yeah. And you also might notice that some of the enemy spaceships do not have fire effects behind them. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's just a bug in Unity, maybe. They also have fire effects on them. It's literally attached to them. I don't know what's happening there. But I'm just going to leave that alone for now. Okay, so now let's make the player explode when the enemies destroy him. It's pretty easy. Yes, the same thing what we did with the enemy. So I'm just going to go into the enemy controller, and in this death function, I'm just going to copy all this. So highlight that, press Control C or Command C if you're on Mac. Go back into the player controller script, go down and press Control V. There we go. And I'm actually going to say die after 0.01 seconds. It's just an extra precaution. And you will get this error that death effect does not exist. But we'll create that in a second. If we just go up here, we want to make public game object death effect. Okay, and that's it. Now if we go back into Unity, camera's not frozen. Good, good. Another variable will pop up saying death effect. All we have to do is just drag the explosion prefab in there. Now, when we press play, and if the player dies, he will explode. It's that easy. 0, boom, 2, 3, and there we go. Okay, let's get the player to respawn now. That is actually pretty easy. But first of all, we need some variables. We will need a public bool called isDead. We will set that equal to false. But there's another attribute that I just want to say. So you do these little straight brackets. I don't know what they're called. Then you can write hide in inspector. So now this will not show up in the inspector. We can still reference this variable from other scripts. Okay. So when start function is called, I'll set isDead equal to false. But in the death method, when it does die, I will set isDead is equal to true. Okay, good. That's all we have to do in the player controller script. And the rest will be in a different script, but the rest is also really easy. Okay, I will create a new empty game object by pressing Control-Shift-N or Command-Shift-N if you are on a Mac, or you can do it by just right-clicking and pressing Create Empty. Now I'll just center this object, so just right-click on the transform and just press Reset, and I'll rename this object to Game Manager, and just drag that up above the enemy spawner. Yeah, we want to keep the directional light on. Okay, I was just saying what would happen. Okay, then let's add a component to the game manager. And let's call this game manager. Now enter to create and add the script to the game manager. And you will see that it actually has a little cogwheel next to the game manager script. That's just because it just senses the game manager script. So it's like, I want to make it stand out. Because, you know, it must be important because it's called manager. I'll just drag that into the script folder. Let it compile. Then I'll double click the game manager script to open it up. Like I said, I'll delete all this. We will need some variables. Private player controller. This will just be called player controller. And I think that's it. One thing that we will need to be using, we need one more variable. Public float respawn time. But we will need to be using something else at the top, but I'll go into that later. Okay, in the start method, so void start, player controller is equal to game object dot find object tag player dot get component player controller. This is just how you set up an object manually if you do not want to drag it in. So what this is saying is this player controller object or script is equal to an object with the tag of player. Then it will list all of the components in the player, and choose the player controller component. So it's basically just getting the script. You will find yourself writing that a lot in the future. Just a bit of a warning or heads up. Okay, so now we'll make a I enumerator. If you do not remember what that is okay. But there's something special about this I enumerator that you cannot do in a normal void function. First of all, I will just call this respawn player, and that's it. Okay, so what's special about an I enumerator is you can make it wait a certain amount of seconds without having having to go with that timer thing that's complicated. And that's pretty much the only thing that's special about it. But something that's even more special about it is that it gives you an error every time you write it. That is completely normal. Okay, so we'll just write yield return new, wait for seconds, then the seconds that you want to wait for before we do something that's below here. We will just wait for respawn time seconds. So now, if we just write 5 seconds here, it will wait 5 seconds before respawning the other player. So in order to respawn the player, we will want to reload the scene or reload the level, or basically that's just saying restart the whole game or level. Okay, so right now we cannot do that. But if we just go up here, say using UniEngine.scene management, then we can say scene-manager.load-scene, scene-manager.getActiveScene.buildIndex. Yeah, that might be a bit complicated, but I'll just explain to you how it works. Okay, so it's saying scene-manager.load-scene. Then the scene manager is finding what scene to reload, and it's just getting the active scene or the scene that we're playing right now, and it's just reloading that scene or restarting that scene. And that's pretty much it. Now all we have to do is call this function in the update method. So void update. Then here's where we'll implement the player controller. We'll say if player controller dot is dead is equal to true. Then we cannot say respawn player because this is a coroutine or a I enumerator, not a normal void function. So we have to say start coroutine, then the coroutine name, that will be respawn player, and then we just have to close that off, and that's it. So now when we press play, and this is something that we have to do. This is not optional. First of all, I'll set the respawn time to maybe 2. I'll go to File, Build Settings, and then we have to press this button called Add Open Scenes to Build, or whatever. And if that does not change anything, then you can just drag in main scene. That's it. Now, if we just press play, I don't know what these errors are for. They don't affect the game at all. So if we just press play, and video is over. So now if we just press play, and we get shot 3 times, we explode, then it restarts. Just like that. And now that is it for this video of the Space Shooter series. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, stay tuned for part 14, where we make some sound effects. Yay! And that is it. Bye guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Bye.